Right, very good, very good. Right, I think that'll do for canter today. Some cobs have more of a natural canter than others, and Melle has a very natural canter and she actually finds it really easy. But what I'm talking about from the point of view of creating a bond is neither you nor the horse, well no, let's put it this way, you and the horse must have such trust in each other that the canter doesn't worry either of you, because most riders, you know, should we say, just, I don't want to sort of, I have to be careful how I phrase this. Most riders who understand fear when out riding in open spaces and experience it have even more fear when it comes to the canter, and they get so bogged down in their fear of the canter and worry about it all that, apart from it transmitting to the horse, they don't realise that actually the horse very often has his own fears in canter, probably largely similar. Of course he doesn't worry about falling off because he's underneath, but horses have lots of fears in canter, and I know that because I work through them all the time. And so to get that bond, both of you need to let go of your fears. And it's easy to say let go when you've got a fear. You can't just let go of it. But having acknowledged that that is a fear, and maybe feeling that the horse also has a fear by the way he goes, there are steps you can take to build that bond and overcome the fear. And one of the first things is not to beat yourself up about the canter. So many people, they think, I've got to prove something to myself. I've got to canter this horse and I've got to get it out of the way. I've got to just do it. Well, that isn't the right frame of mind, because you're setting yourself up for something to go wrong, which it invariably does, and then it kind of confirms that, you know, you had reason to worry about the canter. Far better to just stay in trot until you really feel that you know and you're comfortable with your horse, because if you're not comfortable in walk and trot in open spaces, you're certainly not going to be comfortable in canter, and the horse isn't either. And if the horse isn't comfortable in canter, it's going to be very hard for you to let go of your fear. So, but moving on from there, when you get to the stage, you know, like I'm working on Melle's canter, lovely as it is, it can be a lot lovelier. The first thing that I do to remove the horse's worry about canter is help them understand that they can actually stop. Now that probably doesn't sound like a very profound statement, but actually it's beyond profound, because you'd be surprised at the number of horses that when they go out into the countryside to canter don't think they can stop. Now whether that's the way they've been previously ridden, and I dare say it has a lot to do with it, or whether it's just the worry keeps them going, but having got into canter, they don't realise that they can just stop. And I'm not talking about stopping because, you know, they're terrified and they're going to have a nap. I'm not talking about that kind of stop. But I'm talking about the fact that they know that they can come back to trot. And so when we work with the canter, we do it for small periods of time in a place where we feel confident, so that we can give that confidence to the horse until such time as they can canter pretty much anywhere. And another good place to start for your first canter is is slightly up an incline rather than on the flat, or even worse, down, sloping downwards. So if you choose kind of an incline that's going away from home, not towards home, and as your sort of canter spot, but don't think of going as we normally do, starting at the bottom and getting right to the top and then thinking about pulling up. Come back to trot or halt or walk several times in that incline, and just, it's getting the canter transition, trot to canter to trot, trot to canter, that builds like confidence in each other. So that's as simple as that. By keeping the canter going in open spaces, with every stride you're moving further away from that bond, at least initially. When the horse feels confident enough in you and in himself in the process of canter that he feels able to come back to the trot at any time, then that is super. And let the horse trot. Let him trot. Don't worry about keeping the canter going. Maybe turn round and walk back down, then go back up, so you're facing up the incline again, and ask for it again. It comes later that the horse wants to trot and you keep it going in canter. First of all, I can't tell you how beneficial it is, or emphasise too strongly, letting the horse, or asking to begin with, the horse to come back to trot or walk until he realises that it's safe to do so. And once he realises it's safe to do so, he's going to have much more belief in you, and you're going to believe in the horse, because you think, well, I actually can stop. The other thing is the canters tend to get longer and faster, and stopping isn't much of an option, and there's a lot of sort of pulling and tugging goes on, and like a lot of woo, 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 and all that sort of thing, and it's all unnecessary. So building, you won't have a strong bond with your horse, or the strength of your bond can be largely estimated by the strength, by how confident you are in each other to canter. And as I say, just because you're nervous in canter, don't think that your horse isn't either, because it's in my experience that most horses are very worried about the canter, very, very worried, unless we have them, kind of like from the beginning, or nobody's really cantered them in open spaces, kind of thing. But yeah, so they're very worried themselves, and which, as I say, owners often and riders forget that the horse is actually worried about the canter, and that's why he's going so fast and he doesn't think he can stop.